The dementia Alzheimer's rate is off the charts. It is not normal. It is not a disease of aging. This isn't some inevitable thing that's just supposed to happen to people. This is a newer thing that's come along from lifestyle. Lifestyle is everything. I'm concerned about low cholesterol.
People hear the story that cholesterol is so bad for your heart health. So sure, maybe I'm going to eat a high cholesterol diet because it's going to help my brain, but surely it's going to give me a heart attack.
Yeah, I'm sorry they've been lied to by stupid people. Cholesterol has nothing to do with heart disease. Zero. So I have never taken health insurance in my private practice. I have been cash. So I'm free to tell you the truth because they don't own me. Look, cholesterol is highly implicated in cardiovascular disease. Turns out he lied. They know he lied. We've proven there was fraud. Not even like a myth. This is well known it was fraud. When my grandmother was alive, the normal cholesterol at my age was 350. So everybody used to walk around with 300, 350, and it was very normal. And they were all skinny and nobody worked out. Nobody was fat in 1950s, 60s. Alcohol, sugar, carbs, make no mistake, they own you and they will turn you into an absolute lunatic and a slave. Big, big problem. It's not good for you.
What are action steps that I can take today to start preventing these things?
It's an incredibly powerful healing strategy.
Dr. Rimka, I'd like to center this conversation around things like preventing Alzheimer's or just brain health and mental health. And so I guess just to start, what exactly is Alzheimer's?
Oh, wow. You said it'd be a simple one, but I'm like, you didn't come out the gate real simple. It's almost like asking me what exactly is autism? Because yes, we have a standard definition of Alzheimer's, but like I will probably take an unconventional definition because what is kind of discussed, I would disagree with. But let's start with what we all can agree with. It is not normal. It is not a disease of aging. This isn't some inevitable thing that's just supposed to happen to people. It is not genetic. Okay. Let's start with the groundwork, right? It's a relatively new phenomenon. This is a newer thing that's come along from lifestyle, right? This didn't exist. We have loss of memory and loss of sense of self that comes from a deterioration, a gumming up of the brain tissue. Let's just look at it like that. But it is not normal. It is not an aging issue. It is a toxicity damage issue. And it is referred to in the literature and inside circles by all the scientists for decades as type 3 diabetes. The metabolic pathology of it is diabetes, right? So but it ends up happening in the brain. So this chronically high blood sugar that leads to this chronically high insulin. So when you eat a lot of things or drink a lot of things, such as alcohol, which raises blood sugar like crazy, which is a common thing. You eat a lot of cakes, desserts, pastas, rices, things like that, and you eat frequently, or you're also super stressed out all the time because that will release sugar basically from the liver and the muscles because the body's freaking out. So it's going to release it for energy. So insulin's going to raise. If you don't sleep at night, same thing. So there's many reasons that blood sugar gets too high and insulin gets too high, chronically. And is that in and of itself going to cause Alzheimer's? No, but it makes you more susceptible based upon the toxicity level and some other things that are going on. So if you stack that, if you're a person that likes to have Pop-Tarts for breakfast and pasta all day and pizza for dinner and a couple beers at night and some wine at night, and you don't do any other things to counteract some of that, you don't sleep well because the brain is supposed to detoxify all night. So if I don't allow it to dump all night, I have a problem, right? Lack of sleep alone, you sleep in light. You have artificial lights from your window coming in. That means you won't make melatonin, which is your primary laundry detergent, right? So it's basically when you go to sleep all night, it's like you're running the dishwasher or you're doing the laundry all night to clean your brain. The primary molecule that does that is melatonin. So people who sleep with their phones right there and there's too much light and night lights and in a city and they don't have blackout curtains, with the light that's coming in, touching the skin and even the closed eyes, melatonin won't be released. So there's many, many reasons. But if we add things and if somebody's adding like a flu thing. I don't even know what I can say on the YouTube anymore, but injections do things. If they have things, thimerosal, mercury, other things, they gunk up, and the literature is very clear. People who get one of those shots every year for 5 years, the dementia Alzheimer's rate is off the charts. So you have to look at, it's an accumulation of poison that the insulin is helping like kind of grab and make really sticky and grow things. That makes sense? So it's
Yes.
like, okay, lifestyle is everything. So even though I understand genetics and epigenetics, because I specialize a lot in autism and schizophrenia and bipolar, and I have to know the genetics, and I understand ApoE4, and I understand we can have a higher risk of something. And then I'm like, okay, you really better not take a chance. Like you really better not, this, like you don't have as strong of a chance of escaping the gumming up. So don't make that choice. It's no different than if I see a family that have 17 drug addicts. I'm like, well, every man in this family has been a drug addict. Doesn't take a genius to know, honey, you better not try the drugs, because the chances of you becoming a drug addict are really, really high, because there are genetic predispositions and, let's say, genetic weak chinks in the armor that you could maximize on a person. And the ApoE4 genes around Alzheimer's, they do not cause, just because you have it does not mean you're going to get it. Just like the BRCA genes for breast cancer, that doesn't mean you're going to get breast cancer. But they did this big lie to make people be paranoid and like, whoa, I got BRCA, I should cut off my breasts. Like, what a sinister and deceptive concept. That is not what happens. Genes do not determine. There's very, very little input that actually genes are causative in anything. So I look at it very differently, and I look at, there's always a divine rightness to the human system. It is the most magnificent technology ever created, and it's never making a mistake. So every symptom is the body's attempt to cure something, to fix something, to adapt and accommodate whatever is being done to it. It's not deranged. It's not stupid. That's an attempt to fix a very bad situation you put it in.
Yes. So you had mentioned things like pizza or sugar and cakes and things. What are the drivers? Are there specific ingredients people should look out for? Or how would people know, like, oh, this is a food that might be contributing to more inflammation or more later down the line brain health issues?
So ultimately, okay, there's some app that people are using to like scan things and tell them, have you seen this thing? It's amazing. Like, it's super famous right now. And like, it rates the health, the toxicity of a product. And they're all talking about it. And they were like, thought it would be such an exciting thing for me to see. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, if it has a label and you can read an ingredient on it, it's not good for you. If it is to the point they put it in a can or a box or a bag, and there's like a list of things in it, it's highly processed and it's not actually good for you. So when you eat things that are actual food, they don't have labels. Like, there's no ingredients on, I had a steak today, I had a ribeye. What does it say? Steak, ribeye steak. That's it. Let's say you want to eat an apple. What's it going to say? Nothing, because it's an apple. You don't
Yep.
need the label because you know it's an apple. It's carrots, it's steak, it's hamburger, it's eggs. Like, there's no label on those things listing ingredients unless it's processed. Like, you go to Costco or something and they pre-make a hamburger patty, and you turn out, you read it like, what the hell is inside of this stuff? Why are there 27 things? It should be ground beef. So you stick with a whole food that's going to be basically that you can't leave out on your counter really long. like if it's going to go rotten or get sour if you leave it out, or bugs and rats are going to eat it, that's probably a good choice, right? If a factory had to be involved, and chemical vats and conveyor belts had to be involved in making that thing that got to you, it's not good for you. So that's just the general processed food versus a whole food. Those whole foods in general, I don't care if you want to be carnivore, ketovore, cardokinivore, whatever, paleo, most likely you're going to be fine over here just by doing that. Okay. And over here, standard American diet, processed, highly processed, big problem. Big, big, big problem. Eating Krispy Kreme donuts, Pop Tarts, brownies, these coffee drinks, which are really milkshakes. I mean, I don't think people understand that that's like tablespoons and tablespoons of sugar.
Yeah.
Because your blood sugar in my body right now, all that's floating around in my blood is like a teaspoon of sugar. That's it. 1 teaspoon. But people will eat a candy bar with like 5 teaspoons. They'll have a Mountain Dew with multiple teaspoons. Like, I don't even, you know what I mean? There's so many teaspoons. And the body looks at that massive excursion in sugar as a medical emergency. And it puts all of its resources into getting that sugar out of there as fast as possible. So the pancreas has to squeeze out a lot of insulin, and it says, holy crap, what did she find? What is that? Because nothing in nature makes it go that high. An orange doesn't do that, water, like it just doesn't do that. But the stuff we've come up with, juicing watermelon will do that, because you weren't supposed to juice a watermelon. You know what I mean? So that makes it really high. So the insulin has to be really high, and the body has to deal with that resource. And then it stores it all in the fat real fast. And then the insulin's running around like, well, let's just make things grow. Oh, let's make a tumor. Let's make this grow. Let's make skin tags grow. Let's make, the skin spot. That's what it's doing. And let's gum up protein in the brain.
Is there any blood test that somebody could get to see, oh, I'm on a trajectory of having like Alzheimer's or dementia one day?
Yeah. So, I mean, let's keep the genetics out of it. ApoE4. I think genetics can really scare people. Fasting insulin, hemoglobin A1C. Let's start with that.
Perfect.
And even a cholesterol panel. I like cholesterol. I'm concerned about low cholesterol. So I like a 220 to 250 for a total. I care about triglycerides. I like them to be more like 50, 60. Fasting insulin, hemoglobin A1C, I want the fasting insulin very low. I want an A1C 4.8 to 5.2. If you're basically rocking that and you keep muscle mass on you, because what regulates keeping the insulin and blood sugar out of your brain? How much muscle you have. How much muscle and how healthy your muscle is, that regulates. So some people can get away with a whole lot more bad lifestyle behaviors because they spend hours in the gym stacking themselves with muscle. You earn all those sweets by how much muscle you have. Those people can get away with a lot. I remember being when I, like these keto trips with these guys. How's Dominic D'Agostino? I wanted to punch him in the face. These guys can eat 100 carbs and still be in keto, 100 grams carbs. They're in ketosis. I'm at 15. I'm like, I want to fuck you guys. You know what I mean? Like, we could eat nothing. All the women are like, yeah, and I had some onions and now I'm out of ketosis. Like, really? And they're eating bread. What? So some of it is the male female thing. We're not the same. Some of it is age for sure. And then, man, muscle mass and the health of that is a huge determinant. You want to, prevent that, stack a lot of muscle, do a lot of muscle training in starting your 20s, 30s, like put a lot of muscle on. Yeah.
Do you think that there are any supplements that can help with brain health?
Oh God, yes. Are you kidding? Like, yes, 100%. And overall, it's relatively customized, but anything I'm doing to increase BDNF, right? Which exercise, that's one of its main benefits, is increasing BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So I want to grow new cells all the time. Everything I can do to do that. And I want to avoid things that are killing brain cells, right? Excitotoxicity. So MSG kills brain cells. Alcohol kills brain cells, right? All kinds of concussions kill brain cells. So it's all kinds of, so anything I can do to increase that. And the greatest molecule for neuroinflammation, to bring inflammation down in the brain and help with detoxification, are cannabinoids, CBD. So CBD, CBN, CBG, I've been using those. Every patient, it's a non-negotiable in my practice. So I use tons of that. It brings down, again, autism, mold illness, Lyme. I don't care what it is. Nothing is better for neuroinflammation. It's easily accessible. Definitely before sleep is one of the best times, because I help bring down, I want to increase the glial cells, everybody to dump. I want the sewers. Sleep is the brain's detoxification it's the primary point of sleep, is to detoxify, dump the crap, get it out. But there's the brain needs only so many things. It's a separate system, as a blood-brain barrier, keeping it separate. The brain is making all of its own cholesterol. So the cholesterol circulating in my arm is not going inside my brain. The serotonin in my gut does not go inside my brain. My brain is its own system. That serotonin is made there. That dopamine is made there. That melatonin is made there. That cholesterol is made there. It's not exactly the way the rest of the body works. So I have to make sure those basic nutrients, first thing, fundamental, are in there before I even talk about peptides, things that I know are extraordinarily good at making new neurons, right? I got to make sure I have enough DHA, enough of that omega-3, very special fat that you can't get anywhere else. You must get in the diet. So it's super high in seafood, salmon roe, eggs, salmon eggs, grass-fed beef, bison, really, really high. So that's critical. So foods are more important than anything. And I would look at like roe or caviar from salmon almost like a supplement, like because I think it's disgusting, but like eating it really is helpful. You know what I mean? Like it's super brain food and helps combat all the blue light toxicity that it pulls the DHA out of your brain. That's what the blue light is doing. It's how it's damaging.
You're making me put on my glasses now.
Right. There you go.
The same ones.
Probably raw optics. Yeah.
Well, mine are from Bond Charge, but they look the same.
Okay. Magnesium, the B vitamins, zinc. Those are like super important. So those are the most common supplements I use because I blood test all those things and I need to look at zinc copper ratio. So I find the most common mineral deficiency are magnesium and zinc, but zinc is so critical to mental health and brain function. Zinc is it's rampantly depleted, and you can't make dopamine, you can't make GABA, you can't make acetylcholine. You're screwed if you don't have enough zinc. I measure it all. You can't make testosterone, you can't make sperm. So zinc is probably the biggest causative factor in most cognitive and mental health problems that I see. Zinc deficiency, which leads to copper toxicity. Magnesium is a standard. Most people are pretty deficient in that. Minerals and minerals and minerals. This is a incredible biocomputer that's 70% saturated fat cholesterol in a liquid medium fluid of a bunch of minerals. So I make sure I replenish a lot of minerals. My favorite would be Quinton water. I love C-Max, C-Link, cerebral lysine. It just really does kind of depend on that person's situation. It's a lot. Does that make sense?
Yes. If you're looking for a great quality magnesium, the one that I use is called Bioptimizer's Magnesium Breakthrough. And the reason why I love this one so much is because it has 7 different forms of magnesium in it, as magnesium does different roles within the body. Some forms of magnesium help with sleep, lowering stress, with chronic pain, with constipation. And so this particular magnesium has 7 different forms of magnesium that can help with sleep, managing stress, balancing hormones, improving mood, feeling refreshed, all in one bottle. So like Dr. Rimka was saying, many people are deficient in magnesium. And so I've been taking Bioptimizer's Magnesium Breakthrough for over a year now. And when I got my lab work done, my magnesium levels were completely in range. I will take 2 of these capsules in the evening time, which helps me fall asleep so quickly, and I really couldn't recommend them enough. If you'd like to check out Bioptimizers, there's a link in the video description where you're going to get a lot of discounts, especially in the month of November, where they have their huge Black Friday sale with free gifts, giveaways, and additional discounts. But if it's not the month of November, regardless, you can still use my discount code Lillie Kane to get 10% off your order. So one of the things that you said is that you would like to see cholesterol higher, that cholesterol can be helpful for the brain. But then at the same time, people hear the story that cholesterol is so bad for your heart health. So sure, maybe I'm going to eat a high cholesterol diet or not worry about my cholesterol because it's going to help my brain. But surely it's going to give me a heart attack.
Yeah, I'm sorry they've been lied to by stupid people. Cholesterol has nothing to do with heart disease. 0.
And that's it, mic drop right there.
I can't fix stupid, Lily. I can't fix stupid or lazy. So here's the thing. Ansel Keys was a researcher. He committed scientific fraud. He lied on the papers that determined them saying, oh, look, cholesterol is highly implicated in cardiovascular disease. Turns out he lied. They know he lied. We've proven there was fraud. And instead of saying, oh, crap, we need to do massive retractions, retrain all the cardiovascular surgeons, all the cardiologists on the nonsense of this massive lie, not even like a myth. It was fraud. This is well known it was fraud. They haven't retracted, they've kind of retracted it publicly. It's been published that it was fraud. And But yet all the cardiologists and all the PCPs, because the standard of care guideline is still, if the cholesterol is this number 201, you better prescribe a statin. And if you don't, we will not defend you in the court of law if you get sued. That's why they all do it, because of their malpractice. They're screwed. They know I'm going to not be defended. Even if I know it's reckless, I've had physicians tell me this. They're like, of course we know they're bullshit. I just hope my patients are like, listen, I got to write the script or they'll pull my insurance.
Right. And that's why I feel like it would be difficult for a patient when their doctor says, hey, you have to, this is my option I have to give to you as a statin. And the patient having to navigate that conversation because clearly they have to sign some sort of waiver where if the doctor has to, make sure that they don't get in trouble if something were to happen. So then someone's insurance goes up as a result if they don't.
It's completely unfair. It's not good. I didn't make the system. So all I can do is choose to not play in the system. So I have never taken health insurance in my private practice. I have been cash, pay for service my entire career. You can reimburse and be super bill, you knock yourself out. But I did not make an agreement with your insurance company. I deal with my own malpractice, which is very, very low. I don't have to, because, like it is what it is. And that's on you. So I'm free to tell you the truth and whatever I want to tell you and the amount of time that I want to tell you, because they don't own me. Okay. But that's not how most people work. I think we're only at 8 to 12% of physicians are not hospitalists, meaning they're in private practice. Most of them are bought and paid for by a hospital and they have no choice. They have to see patients in 7 minutes. I don't know how you can do anything effective in a 7-minute visit. It takes 20 minutes to teach a concept minimum. So the reality is cholesterol does not cause heart disease. It has nothing to do with it. And I'm sorry, they have not educated you on what really is causing it. What's causing cardiovascular disease is damage to what's called the glycocalyx. The glycocalyx is probably the largest organ in your body, and none of you have even heard of it. It is the net negative hydrogel lining of all the cardiovascular tissue, the capillaries, arterioles. There's a thin layer of gel water, like jello, and it has a net negative charge. A red blood cell has a positive charge. Its job is like a bumper, like on bowling, like your bowling lanes, how they put the kids have the bumpers, that's what it's like. So the gutters don't happen. And its job, because of that, it repels those. And so they don't hit the actual capillary wall, arterial walls. So it's like it just keeps them moving. And the net negative charge is what pulls the red blood cells through. The heart is not a pump. It pumps nothing. It's physically impossible. This has been proven by biologists, physiologists, physicists. The heart does not pump the blood through. It can't do it. It's not strong enough. It's impossible. The blood is pulled by this net negative charge of this gel. Well, that gel gets destroyed from, guess what? High insulin and cigarette smoke and toxins in the cupcake clicks and the bioweapon that we would call the SPIKE teens. See how good I am for YouTube?
Yeah, I'm gonna put the word. I usually will like overlay the words and things because I get busted too. So I gotta like use code.
Yeah, I think I did it good for you there. I tried really hard. So those things, there's many things. So hypertension, high blood pressure too does it. So imagine there's so much tension, pressure, it'll rip through some of that. So it's the glycocalyx so when that goes away, then you have the positive thing. Now it hits and it scrapes and it scrapes. And as it damaged, eventually, then it's like, oh, that's not good. So then fluid comes from this side and the outside to try and fix it. It says, oh, we need to, white blood cells, everybody comes there. It's like it's getting hurt. Make a wall. It's getting weak. Okay. So pull some calcium and pull some cholesterol to make a wall to protect it so all the blood and the plasma doesn't go into the tissue. That's the wall, but it's coming from something else that you damage. So it's again, the cholesterol and the calcium, the plaque is there to make a barrier because you lost the glycocalyx. It is the cops and the firefighters showing up. So it's like if you never knew what a firefighter was and you came into a place and there were 5 fires in the thing, you could make the conclusion, whatever these red engines are on those guys, they're always at the fires. They must be the bad guys. That's what the cholesterol is the firefighter. The cholesterol is coming there to fix it, but it didn't cause the fire. And that's what they've demonized. That's the cure, trying to fix the problem, right? And the bigger problem is, why have you lost the glycocalyx? And how do we restore that? Because when my grandmother was alive, the normal cholesterol at my age was 350. So everybody used to walk around with 300, 350, and it was very normal. And they were all skinny and nobody worked out. Nobody was fat in 1950, 60, 70. Nobody was. Nobody had diabetes. And they were like this. They were thin. So, and they're 320, 350, that was normal. In the labs, to the physicians, that's normal. Nobody was treated. 350 is not high. See, you guys have been brainwashed into thinking something's high. That's not a problem. I'm like, and not high.
Perfect. I know that one of the other things that you talk about, aside from Alzheimer's and that impacting brain health, but the other part being mental health, depression, anxiety. Do you think that this is a correlation to, again, lifestyle, food, movement?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell you, I've never seen a chronically depressed patient with a cholesterol over 150. They all have, every chronic depressed patient I've ever had has a low cholesterol number. I've never seen somebody with a cholesterol of 120, 130 who was happy. Never. Okay. That's a reality. And they're also, if their cholesterol is that low, their liver is not well. So I know I have liver damage because the liver's job is to compensate for, if you don't eat it, it's got to make it. And you can't repair your body with a cholesterol number like that. You can't do it. I would love to have someone explain to me how my body, how every single cell in my body, except red blood cells, because those are weird cells. They don't even have a nucleus. They're very weird. So red blood cells are weird. Them aside, every cell in my body makes cholesterol. My liver spends this big old organ, a huge part of its function, like 70% of its function, making cholesterol and wrapping up cholesterol and dealing with cholesterol and lipoprotein. It's what it does. It's like a huge part of its job. And my brain makes its own cholesterol to stay in there because it needs to keep it sequestered. Can somebody explain to me why the body would put that much energy into making something that's out to kill me? I would love to have this explained to me, because I have yet to have someone make it make sense. Yeah.
So for you then, do you have a diet protocol, or like you had mentioned earlier, it's like you don't care if there's someone's carnivore, ketovore, keto, animal, but you had mentioned ketones as well with going to ketogenic conferences and things like that. So do you prefer that someone's in ketosis? Do you want?
Well, ketosis should be every day. You should be in ketosis. When you go to bed at night, you should go into ketosis. Every night is like a winter hibernation, and you should be in ketosis. So intermittent, ketosis should be the normal way of being. What is a baby? They're ketogenic. What is breast milk? It is ketogenic. The food that's highest in cannabinoids, by the way, is human breast milk. So we have CBD, cannabinoids off the charts in breast milk, medium chain fatty acids off the charts as in breast milk. It's all fat. It's all fatty acids and ketones, and babies are functioning off ketones. So if that's what the brain is best in development in, I'm pretty sure it's best in development all the time in. So you should be having a lot of ketones every night when you go to sleep. And when you eat breakfast, you come out of ketosis. But the body should be so flexible, it goes in and out every single day like that. So that's where we get our intermittent ketosis all the time. We don't have to be in ketosis and have high ketones constantly, unless I'm dealing with something like a seizure disorder or a brain cancer tumor. We got to be a little bit different, and we bring nutritional ketosis into the picture, and it becomes very important to manage something that's gotten amok, let's say, right? So in general, the bare minimum that I allow in my office is paleo. I want it to be whole foods. I don't tolerate, no, you can't have any grains in my diet in my office. No, there's no eating of a grain. So I want it as simple and clean as I possibly can. And from that gamut, we work our way all the way to like carnivore, but it's going to be foods. It's going to be a thing that doesn't have a label mostly. I don't want it in a bag or a box or a can. For the most part, it needs to be animal based 100%. I will not take a vegan or a vegetarian at all unless you're basically telling me I want to know how to convert. You cannot have good mental health. You cannot have good brain health eating that way, because you're just lacking in too many essentials. And you would have to, you can't even supplement your way out of that. It's too hard. I've tried. I tried with patients for a really long time, and it's just a disservice. And I'm not going to lie to them and just take their money. It's ridiculous, honestly. The brain won't hold a charge anymore. So you have to have, these certain things in the diet that supplements can't compensate. So it's definitely animal based. And it says least amount of packages and labels and things as I can get a person high protein. Well, it's not really high, but it's what a person would consider high protein. Animal protein should be the center of everything. And the rest of it, if they want other foods, it should be in season and local only.
So some people have a really hard time transitioning off of the sugar. I feel like, it's even for myself. There was times where I was eating just like you had mentioned Pop-Tarts for breakfast, and I'd have a peanut butter jelly sandwich for lunch every single day. I'd have my, of course, cookies and ice cream for dessert. So it's hard to transition off of sugar. What recommendation or advice do you have for somebody who's like, okay, I understand the idea of eating whole foods, but Dr. Rimka, it is way harder. It's easy to say, but when you have social gatherings and friends and everybody doing it, and you look at the cake and it's so glistening at you and you want to eat it, how do you advise that person to like get off of that?
You get professional care because you're a drug addict. You're an alcoholic or a drug addict to that. It's no different. You can't control yourself. You can't stop it, right? You have emotional needs that are overtaken and you can't control that. That's an addict. Now, many of those addiction issues are pushed by dysbiosis, by pathogens that have taken place. So a person who eats the way you just described, that is, you are infested. And if it's hard for you to come off of something, you're going through withdrawal. That's what you're describing, right? People say, oh, that's withdrawal. I mean, I've dealt with alcoholics and drug addicts my entire career. I know what it looks like. Sugar is no different because most likely what that's also feeding is a yeast, candida, mold overgrowth, and also parasites. They're always going to be together. So you have other creatures in you, and they're usually, we live in a very symbiotic, incredible relationship with them. They help us. Make no mistake, the yeast keeps the bacteria in check. The bacteria keep the yeast in check. So we have E. coli in us, we have candida in us, we have parasites in us. They're all keeping each other in check in the colon. So things are the way they methylate things for us, they convert things for us, they make compounds that we can absorb. It's a win-win. We give them a safe harbor, a little place to be, and they do things for us. So we've made this partnership. Now, if you're coming, if your mom didn't breastfeed you or stopped and suddenly started giving you Oreos and put Mountain Dew in your bottle, we've ruined the whole thing. Now we're going to have a dysbiosis setting in because you're feeding something that the ones that feast on the sugar are going to take over, and then their byproduct is alcohol. So you're absorbing alcohol in your bloodstream, you're craving more. And when they start to die, they are vicious. Their die-off symptoms cause pain and headaches and migraines and misery and cravings like nobody's business. So basically what's happening is you're letting these parasitic creatures control you. They own you, and they will turn you into an absolute lunatic and a slave to go get what you want. And they want alcohol, sugar, carbs, make no mistake. People get irrational and wild with it. And blood sugar regulation in and of itself, by itself, is the first thing I have to look at for mental health issues. Not dopamine, serotonin, and GABA, it's blood sugar. Like I need that stable first. And the first thing I'm going to do is load in protein. I always load in something before I take something away. But I'm going to run labs on that. I'm going to see what I'm dealing with, and I'm going to show them. And so if I have candida, I've got to load the system up and I've got to kill it. And I've got to kill it gently at a die-off rate that person can detox and handle. So typically, I rarely ever go cold turkey on somebody. Why would I do that? They're going to white knuckle and fail. They're not going to do it well. And there's certain drugs, if people come off, they'll die. You don't ever take somebody cold turkey off of benzodiazepine. You have a recipe for death. You have to know how to do this right. So I think people doing things on their own, that's why they fail. So they think they're a failure. No, you just weren't set up for success. So if we do it right, we give you compounds to slowly start lowering them, binders to pull things out, helping detoxification, drainage system. I have to have the kidneys working first. I have to have the liver working. You have to get all the systems working before you even attempt that. I set people up before we even start making the dietary changes. So then, oh, it's not so bad. And I can give them things for cravings. Once I start helping them make dopamine and serotonin, they don't need the quick hit so much. Plus, I have to kill the pathogens that are running amok, driving behavior. Parasites can cause schizophrenia. That's well established in the literature. Like, this is not pretend, it's a big deal.
So you've been talking about helping people, but then also you had mentioned people being taught about cholesterol and heart disease and that these doctors are silly. So how does somebody, can they work with you? Do you do telehealth, or how do people find doctors that they can work with that know these things?
I mean, unfortunately, most of us are probably not going to take insurance. Most of us are going to have long visits. I mean, you might find somebody who can do a combo, which is great. Um, they'll take some into cash. It's like, well, this is what it is. They'll push through what they can. The labs we can run through here, this, but they're not going to pay for the 2 hours it takes a doctor to really listen to you. Just not. They'll pay you more for an ice pack than they will for your time. I mean, it's ridiculous. They have no value for what we really do. I mean, it's so awful. So I am available, and lots of my friends are available. One good resource is the Human Longevity Institute. I'm on their board, and we teach doctors and coaches how to do things. Neurofeedback practitioners, I'm board certified at neurofeedback. We typically are going to know things differently. GAPS diet clinicians are good. Typically, that's a great diet, and they do certifications. That's a nice baseline for food. Now, they may not be able to run labs. You might have to get 4 people. I happen to be unusual that I do all this dietary stuff. I run labs. I do neural feedback. I do brain imaging. I understand manual things. I was a talk therapist in a mental hospital. So I do a whole lot of the same I'm like 7, 8 clinicians in one, because I'm just an obsessive, persistent, ridiculous kind of person that just reads all the time. But not everybody's like that. I totally get it. So you might need 2 or 3 on the team. The Walsh Institute certifies people in some orthomolecular psychiatry. That's what I primarily do. Abram Hoffer. So I don't. It's tough. People say that, like, it's tough. You got to go word of mouth. You got to find us. International Peptide Society. So peptide societies as well. The doctors who are using peptide therapy, like me, we're a very different group. So we're even more advanced than most functional doctors. So we're going to know more of this stuff. Dr. Schallenberger, his training, I think, is incredible. So finding doctors that have been trained by him that are ozone specialists, they usually can take a really good view of the system as well. So there's some resources.
Awesome. I'm going to put like a list so everybody could like follow along and know. I guess just to summarize what we've kind of talked about, for somebody who's like, okay, I'm ready to take action today, so that way I don't have any mental health, or, to mitigate mental health issues, potential Alzheimer's, any sort of negative brain health issues in the long term. Like, what are action steps that I can take today to start preventing these things?
Stop drinking alcohol, eat more protein, lift weights, manage your sleep. Sleep and stress management cannot be underscored. More sunlight. I would say make sure you play, have pleasure, focus on that a lot more. Never underscore the power of the female orgasm. And I lecture a lot on that. I know that's real off topic, but that's a really important thing. I think people put that aside as if it's not. Sex and orgasms is in the same part of the brain as food and water. It's an essential nutrient. And orgasms in particular, we create an explosion of healing molecules. They heal physical things. It's a real thing. To me, that's a start. And then as we do that, we would start to eliminate the processed things. We start to eliminate the poisons. I would say avoid every single injection that's on a schedule that they wouldn't want to offer you. I would stay away from the quacks, enes, as much as possible. And avoid drugs, the common drugs they want to give you. Let your body have a fever. Stop suppressing the symptoms. The fever is the cure, right? The cough is the cure. The vomit is the cure. Let your body cure itself. Every time you suppress that, you're setting yourself up to have a bigger problem later on. And that's basically these diseases that we get later, an accumulation of small sins against nature. Some of them are large sins against nature. And you let nature do its thing, it is cleaning you out, and we stop all the detoxification. I do also like spring cleaning, which is water fasting once a year. I love a 5-day water fast once a year for a lot of people. That's a very smart strategy. I've been leveraging that for 30, 34. I started fasting in my 20s. So long, 13-day fast, many of those things in my life. So that's a small, I would work up to it, work with a clinician, but it's a incredibly powerful healing strategy. And you only need to do it once a year, really. Okay. But so these are things that you can think about. So we would start basic, eat more protein, start to move a little bit more, lift some weights, sleep, 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 guard your sleep, get some more sunlight, have more fun, pleasure, play a little bit more, connect with people, practice gratitude, have a, I mean, be obsessed with becoming happy for a change, right? Turn off your TV, throw away toxic people, toxic information. Simple really does start. People are starving. Eat more meat. I mean, my one course Radiant Reset, Lily, I have to spend 90 days just teaching women they should eat more. I'm like,
Yes.
there's no fasting. We're not doing any of that. I want an 8 to 12 hour eating window, and you're eating 3 times a day. And it's like hard for them
Yes.
because they've been taught they're supposed to starve themselves. So I'm trying to nourish the system, nourish the brain so it feels safe. You can't do anything unless your brain feels safe. It will heal nothing. So nervous system regulation is the primary, that's my entire career is what I do. It's a fancy little term. It just means I'm trying to make your brain feel safe. And then when it feels safe, it's calm, it's rest, it's relaxed. It does that's what it heals everything. If it's basically chilled all the time, it's got, well, go get that cancer, go get this, go fix that, blah, blah, get rid of this. It just fixes all the problems. The problem is we're not there enough. That should be 90% of your life should be rest, digest, chilled out, but we're not. So we have to do all these special things to get there. But some of it just starts with eating enough protein, because that's the primary thing. Your body's looking for nitrogen, and it's going to keep eating and eating and eating until it gets enough for the day. It's not going to get any in potato chips. It's not going to find it in rice. It's not going to find it very much in ice cream. You get a little bit in ice cream. If you're going to eat a dessert, I say ice cream is the best one to eat. So I mean, it's at least coming from a cow, right? Like it's got some fat and protein in it. So I mean, you can make some. I mean, that's not the worst thing. I'm gonna tell you for real, right? But you need that. So people are amazed sometimes when I start making them eat meat 3 times a day, that they naturally just don't snack. They naturally don't have cravings. They naturally sleep better. They naturally just feel better. It's like, oh, it's like, yeah, because you were trying to survive on a salad with like 3 ounces of tuna. I'd be starving in an hour too. You aren't weak, you're hungry.
Yes.
you know? So there's a lot of that reprogramming that goes on. So all my courses are 90 days because I don't think you can really help reset someone's way of being. It's like it probably takes me 3 weeks to tell you the information, but it takes 90 days to try to kind of stop a little bit of I'm trying to re-brainwash you into new ways of being. So there's that. I think a community I think is really important to help you when you're doing it. I think community is super helpful because trying to do it by yourself, especially if you're not, everybody isn't. My subculture, I've been in the like holistic alternative space since I was 22 years old, and I'm 51. So this is just my normal. So all my friends are like me. Nobody vaccinated their children. Nobody circumcised their sons. None of us have Tylenol in our house. None of us even think to do those things. None of us get mammograms. None of us get pap smears. None of us do it. So we're like, what are you talking about? Oh, people do that? I'm like, there's a birth control pill that does what? I go, they don't have a period? Why would you do that? I mean, we live in an alternate universe of why would anybody think that's a good idea to stop your periods entirely? That's insanity to me. But it turns out that's what people do. So I used to make myself go into a Walmart once a year just to watch people, just be like, what's it like? You know? And I don't do it anymore because I'm like, this is brutal for me, because again, I went to school with all my friends are like me mostly. And I chose a school, Waldorf, where, there's no TVs and media allowed. The kids learn to knit. There's chickens on campus. That's my world. So I just choose to be in my world and I put my son in my world. So I made it easy on myself and made choices to where I'm not weird. The rest of you are strange to me. I don't understand it. But everybody breastfed. All my friends breastfed. It just was. It's the normal thing.
Yes.
We weren't the weird ones. You know what I mean?
Yes. I think Dr. Rimka is just so fun, and I hope you guys check her out. Give her a follow. She's over on Instagram at Dr._Rimka. I'll leave links to her websites, her programs and courses all in the video description. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next one.